If you're wanting to be more creative on the drums and come up with cool, unique fills, but you're starting to wonder if fill creation requires a level of talent that maybe you don't have, then this lesson is for you. Use any or all three of these methods I'm teaching you today to start creating your own unique fills on the fly so that your playing is inspired and musically appropriate for the song. You can do this. Hey, welcome to the Non-Glamorous Drummer. I'm so glad you're hanging out with me today. I help beginner and intermediate drummers really become the musicians who sound awesome and who people actually want in their band. And we do this by teaching you the core fundamental skills that make the biggest difference in your playing and get you the farthest, the fastest. And we do this by teaching you the core fundamental drumming skills that ironically get you the biggest results and help you grow the fastest. And hey, speaking of growth, if you are a beginner drummer who's wanting to really get going quickly, you want to be able to play your favorite songs, but you just can't because you don't know what to play, you don't know what grooves to play, you don't know what fills to play, but you just want to have fun, you want to get up and running and play the songs you love, I've got you covered. I want you to download my free PDF e-guide. It's called 25 Practical Rock Grooves and Fills for the Beginner Drummer. This is going to give you the key vocabulary for playing probably 95% of rock and pop songs. You can learn these grooves and then use them in so many different songs. You can learn these fills and use these fills in so many different songs so that you're up and running and confidently having fun playing songs. This is going to help you out a bunch. After all, our goal is to play songs. We want to have fun on the drums. We want to make music, and this is your best shortcut for getting there quickly. So grab that guide, it's in the description. All right, let's get on with today's lesson so we can talk about creating your own unique fills and putting your own stamp on the music you play. This is going to be a lot of fun. Let's dive in. The three methods we're digging into today are 1, the melodic method, 2, the random method, and 3, the subtraction method. And what's cool about these is that these are 3 unique, very different methods, but in theory, they're all going to potentially lead to the same result. And so what's really cool about all of this is that whatever your personality is, however you like to think about music and think about drum parts, you're going to find that one of these methods resonates with you the most, and one of these makes the most sense to you and is the most fun to you. And so my goal, my hope is that by the end of this lesson, you're going to have a method for creating unique rhythms, melodies, and patterns and fills and things on the kit that are really fun to you and that really inspire you. I want you to experience that freedom and that creativity of knowing, hey, I came up with this. Like, this was something I came up with. That's really motivating. So I want you to be able to do that in any of these 3 methods. So be thinking about that. I want that to be your mindset as we go into this. Figure out, all right, which of these is going to be the best one for you. So starting off, the melodic method. We struggle to know what fill to play to really fit in the song. Like, you know, a lot of times we might play a fill and then we wonder, well, did that fill really fit that well? How do I know if that fill fit really well? And that's a common struggle. I know that was for me for a long time, always feeling like my playing is just not as good as the studio drummers out there because they always know the right thing to play. How do I know the right thing to play? How do you know the right fill to play? This is a great method for really helping you land on that. How do we make sure that our fills fit? Well, the melodic method. So here's what we do. Think of a rhythm, or not really even think of a rhythm, pull a rhythm from the melody of the song. So let's say there's a certain rhythm within a melody that the vocalist sings or that the guitar player plays. Take that rhythm and build that into a fill. And then practice orchestrating in different ways and figuring out, hey, I can make this one rhythm feel a lot of different ways by playing it differently on the kit. So here's an example. So we're going to take this is called the Bo Diddley rhythm. It's the 1 E and a 2 E and a 3 E and 4, boom, da boom, da boom, da bum bum. You may be familiar with that song, classic 50s song. That's the Bo Diddley beat, and it's basically the clave rhythm that you might hear in like a bossa nova, where it's the bum, da bum, da bum, da bum, da bum. So it's a rhythm that we're all very familiar with, and let's imagine that we're playing a fairly slow song, nothing too fast. Maybe it's about this tempo. Let's imagine that's kind of the tempo we're at, and let's say that rhythm shows up. Maybe it's sung by the singer, it's just part of the melody, it's something that the guitar player plays. Every song is going to be different. There are going to be different melodies, different things that happen in different songs. But let's imagine that's the one. Let's say we've pulled that rhythm from the vocal, and that's something that they're singing. So we know that, okay, that's going to be something that if we play that rhythm in a fill, it's probably going to make sense. It's probably going to fit with the song because it's there in the song. Whether we're playing that with the vocalist as they sing that melody, or maybe we're pulling it in later, that can be a cool trick where maybe there's a melody that, or like a rhythm that keeps showing up in the melody of a song. Then we as the drummer can then bring that in later. Like we could then play that later in the song. Everybody else has had their turn to play it. Now it's our turn and we're going to play that later on. So that can be a strategy too. But most likely, if you're pulling a rhythm from the melody, it's a rhythm that's already there in the song, played by the guitar, played by the keyboard, whatever, it's probably going to fit a lot better than something random that has nothing to do with the song. So your challenge, really this is a twofold challenge, and I know right off the bat we're kind of digging into something that's a little bit advanced maybe because this tests your listening skills. But what I want you to do is go listen to a favorite song. Find a song that you love and listen for things like this. Listen for a distinct rhythm that the vocal sings. And what you might find is that when you find this specific rhythm, you'll find that the drums and the bass are maybe playing that too. Maybe they're reinforcing it or accenting it in some way. But look for these things. When you start looking for these things, your ears will be opened up to so many things in music you were never aware of before, because now you know what to look for, you know what to listen for. And suddenly drum parts will start making more sense because you'll realize, oh, that kick pattern fits with the vocal. Like, oh, okay, that kick part was inspired by the guitar part, and then it changes a little bit when the vocal comes in to match the vocal. Okay, that fill is reinforcing what the vocalist is doing there. It all starts to make sense because you realize that melody is what drives music. And that's kind of our core principle here. The melody is the most important part of a song. When we're talking pop songs, the vocal is so important, and so everything you do on the drums should reinforce that and should be all about staying out of the way of that melody and also helping reinforce it. So that's your first challenge, to find examples of that and find, okay, there's a cool rhythm. So go listen to your favorite song so that you can do that. Then once you've found it, we'll go back to our Bo Diddley rhythm example here. Your challenge is figuring out what different ways could I play this. So if our rhythm is, well, we could just play that on the snare. It could be something like, maybe that's it. But there's so many possibilities for what we could do with a rhythm. That's what's so fun about playing the drums. We can take a rhythm and we can play it a million different ways. So that's where I think the fun really comes in here. And that's why I'd give you this method first, because this is so much fun and it really will resonate with many of you. Maybe you start off on the toms. I like that. Boom, doom, ba, boom, doom, ga. Remember, we're going slow, so we're thinking of like big, epic kinds of fills. One strategy, as you build your coordination, your ability to interplay with your right foot, what can be really cool is playing maybe that pattern, that rhythm with your hands and then filling in the space with the kick. So at a basic level, it would be like this. Doesn't have to be that many kick notes, but it can be kind of like that, where it's a just like that. And so that can make things more interesting and give them sort of a linear fill. There's a specific lesson here on the channel about that and about incorporating your kick into fills. And so if you know you need to build some right foot coordination so you can start to break into that territory, I'm linking that lesson in the description, so go check that out. But hey, this is one of those things where I can't spoon feed this to you. Yes, I can tell you how to do it. I can give you an example of a rhythm that you can do this with, but you have to take action. You have to go listen to some songs, find these rhythms, and practice incorporating them on the kit. So step one is find the rhythm in the melody or in the guitar part. So find something that's there in the song. Step two is just play that on the kit. Bump, bump, bump. Bump, bump. Step three is then find a unique way to orchestrate it, where you're essentially playing that rhythm, but maybe there's some other things going on around it so that it feels really interesting. Maybe a more advanced step here for you more intermediate to advanced players would be figure out how many different variations you can create. So let's say you're going to play that rhythm going into every chorus of the song. And let's say there's 3 places where you go into the chorus. Maybe the first time going into the chorus, you play this. Maybe the second time, though, you want to do something that feels a little bigger. Then maybe the third time, we want to get a little bigger still. And so think of different ways you can change it to really start upping the energy. Like think, what's a more low-key way to play this? Okay, what's a little bigger? Okay, what's the big epic way to play this? That's a really fun challenge. So that alone right there is something that can keep you occupied for a while working on this and growing at this skill, no matter your level. So have fun with that. Take that and run with it. Let's talk about the random method next, because I want to include this because if you're wanting to come up with something from scratch and you're trying to pull these rhythms from songs and you're trying to think up some cool things, but you just feel like your brain is blank and you're just like, I feel like I just don't have the talent, I don't have the ear, I'm having a really hard time with this, I can't come up with anything good. Well, the random method is cool because we can kind of skip over our brain and skip over the creativity. You will develop that creativity over time, but if you feel like you don't have it, if you feel like you just can't come up with anything good, yes, you can. This is sort of like our mathematical way of like throwing some numbers on a board and then generating a fill out of it. That's essentially what this is. So that you can create random melodies and just random rhythms out of nowhere that you didn't have to think about. You just randomly generated them. So that's what's really cool about this. Here's how this works. Take a random sticking. If you happen to have this book right here, Stick Control by George Lawrence Stone, classic old method from way back in the day. The first 3 pages are just full of random stickings. You could take a sticking from this. It's a great way to generate rhythmic ideas. If you don't, that's totally fine. I'll show you how to do this. And first I'll give you my random sticking that you can use to generate some rhythms. What we're gonna do is just play this sticking on our snare on our practice pad. Here's our sticking for the sake of demonstration here. It's gonna go right, left, and then left, right, followed by another left, right, finishing with a right, left. So it kind of just feels like a bunch of singles, but we end up with a couple of doubles thrown in there when we put all that back to back. Here's what this sounds like. Pretty boring, nothing too interesting there, and we're just playing it slowly. But listen to what happens if we start to accent one hand and then ghost the other. Suddenly, a rhythm emerges. So you kind of see what we're doing here. You can just throw a bunch of R's and L's on a piece of paper, right, left, create a random sticking, and then learn it, play it, and then play one hand louder than the other, and you start to hear rhythms and melodies. Which you can really hear as you move to different drums. Now, a warning to you, this challenges your dynamic independence. That's what I like to call this. Where if you're playing loud with one hand, soft with the other, you're working on dynamic independence, volume independence between your hands. If you've never practiced that, it's going to be tough the first time, but this is a really helpful thing to be practicing in your playing, because gaining the ability to play loud with one hand and soft with the other means that you can mix yourself and be intentional about your volumes and how you're hitting things on the drums, which makes you sound way more professional. That's kind of that in a nutshell. It's a topic for another lesson. But having independence with dynamics, being able to be in total control of how loud each hand plays, independent with the other, how loud each foot plays, independent with the other, we could go a step further there. That's going to really affect your ability to have command and intentionality behind your instrument. So that's just an added bonus to practicing this. So take that sticking, and maybe even before you accent a hand, just try moving that hand to a different drum. That way you can hear that melody without having to intentionally play louder. So both hands the same volume, but we hear that rhythm, we hear that melody because we've got right hand on the floor tom. So that can be a great way to get there too. So at that point, we've discovered a rhythm right there. Boom, 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 do ba, boom. So talking slow fills. That particular rhythm happens to work great. Like that makes for a really cool fill. Ba, ba, boom, 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 go, ga, ga. So then your next step is the same as with that melodic method, where then you know that rhythm, so now figure out how to play it on the kit. Get creative, have fun with it. Even if you feel like you're not creative, even if you feel like you can't come up with anything, make yourself do it. You know, I don't think that any of us are particularly born with musical creativity. I think that some of us are more motivated and more passionate about figuring out how to be more musically creative, and that drives us to work hard at it. So even if you feel like you're not talented, work ethic trumps talent any day. And if you sit here and you actually practice getting creative and practice coming up with different ways to play this melody, you're gonna get there. You're gonna get there. It might take some time, but you can do this. Now also, really we can get two different rhythms, two different melodies out of the same sticking, right? If we accent the left hand, you get different melodies that way. Ba, 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 boom, boom, ba, ba, ba. Very similar type of feel, right? It's just the inverse of it, and so you can get alternate ideas that way too. So with every sticking you randomly generate, you're actually going to get two rhythm ideas. So I give you this method because you might have a lot of fun with it. You might have fun just writing out random stickings. When you're doing these, try to make sure you don't have like a bunch of rights or a bunch of lefts in a row. If you can just have a random mix of like roughly singles with some doubles thrown in, you're probably going to have the most success with that. Now, if you do a lot of lefts in a row or a lot of rights in a row, you'll end up with a more sparse rhythm. Kind of like if we put that Bo Diddley rhythm, this is where you see how, these different methods can actually get us to the same result. We could have, with the Bo Diddley rhythm, done this. Right, left, left, right, left, left, right, left, 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 right, left, right, left, left, left. That could be a sticking like that, where we fill in the spaces on the snare. So you can see how you could end up with that Bo Diddley rhythm as a result of a random sticking that has a bunch of lefts in a row. So you can do whatever you want to do here. That's what's kind of cool about this. You'll end up achieving potentially the same result with these different methods. So let's talk about the third method, the subtraction method. See, a lot of times the fills that we do come up with, even if they're a great fill or they're a really cool fill, a lot of times there's actually too many notes. There's too much going on. Maybe they're too busy. So maybe we actually need to start subtracting things, because a lot of times it's not just what you play, it's what you don't play. Sometimes a really compelling fill is something like this. I would call that a fill. That was kind of like something Steve Jordan might do, where he's grooving along and he just pauses. There's a great video of him doing that, by the way, where he's just groove soloing. I'll link that in the description if I think about it, where he just pauses and then comes back in. And it's so musical. And so it's not what he's playing, it's what he chooses to not play in the space that he inserts. So a great way to practice doing that is just take a string of 16ths. So like 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and there's a sticking again. Maybe our sticking is just right, left, right, left, right, left, right, left. But randomly remove one of those notes. I think the easiest first one to remove is beat 3. So let's say we're playing our string of 16th notes. 1 E and 2 E and 3 E and 4 E and we can leave out beat 3 like that. Furthermore, we can accent the note right before the space that we inserted. So we could accent the of 2. 1 E and 2 E and E and 4 E and 1 E and 2 E and. We could also remove the of 4. So we could stop on the and of 4. We could do something like this. That way there's kind of like a boom ba that leads us into that next downbeat. And of course you can start orchestrating this a lot of different ways and inserting the kick in places. But keeping it very simple, you could literally just play. It's literally just a string of 16ths, but suddenly we've created melody in it. We've created rhythm in that pattern just by taking away 2 notes, and especially by accenting that note that comes right before the space. It really brings your ear's attention to it. Suddenly the fill feels way more compelling, and that's the secret to a compelling fill. It needs to have some rhythm to it and some melody to it. Yes, there are times when the best fill to play is. Sometimes that is the best fill. A lot of times those simple rock fills, they just work great, and that's the fill to play. But other times, when it's time for a big fill, you could play ga 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 goo 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 goo. Most of the time though, that is not the best fill. You could play that and it might work, But a lot of times it's cool just to shake it up a little bit. Just take out one of those notes. Boom. And suddenly it makes it way more interesting, especially if the groove for the song was something like this. One E and the two E and you can make that 16th fill actually fit the groove, the kick pattern of the song by emphasizing that of 2 that comes before the space we've now made on beat 3, so that it ends up being like this. Suddenly the fill fits the groove, and so that's something else to think about too. Kind of just another direction we can go with this discussion is crafting your fills to fit your groove and fit your kick pattern. And your kick pattern should be fitting a guitar part or a vocal, so all these things should be working together. So sometimes taking a bunch of 16ths and then removing certain notes, accenting others, can cause your fill to make more sense within the song, which is pretty interesting. You've got to take action on this. I've given you a lot of things to think about, a lot of things to try out. And so what I hope, like I said earlier, I hope that one of these methods really resonates with you, really gets you excited about being creative and creating things. There's something satisfying and fulfilling about creating stuff, like feeling like I did this, I came up with this. And that's why I want you to employ any one of these methods to create on the kit, because the more you can get really good at creating, the better you get at improvising, and the best drummers improvise really well. The best drummers out there are not hired for sessions or for gigs because they're necessarily the best drummer or because they can play really fast or sound really good on the drums. There's a whole bunch of drummers who can do that. A lot of times specific drummers are hired because of their ideas. You hire this drummer because you know what, they're gonna come up with some ideas that make this song really great. Or you know what, this is this type of song, so I'm gonna hire this drummer because I know that the fill ideas that they're gonna play are really gonna take this song to the next level. A lot of times it's the ideas and the creativity that really get a drummer hired and that really set that drummer apart from others. I want that to be you too. I want you to really tap into your inner creativity that is there. You've just got to discover it. You've got to put in the work to really bring it to the surface and build it up, but I know you can do it. All of this really will take you from being bored, brain dead, and feeling untalented to being inspired and empowered and ready to create your own fills. That's what I want for you. Know that you can do this. And hey, as we wrap up, which of these methods do you like the most? I want you to tell me that in the comments. Which of these really resonates the most with you? Which are you going to go do first? Which are you going to take action on and test out now? Let's talk about this in the comments. And hey, be sure to grab that 25 favorite practical rock grooves and fills guide. If you're a new drummer and you just need to get up and running and figure out what in the world to play so you can play your favorite songs, that guide is totally for you. 25 rock grooves and fills, notation, audio examples, it's all right there for you. Totally free in the description. Thanks for watching today. Thanks for hanging out. This has been a lot of fun. I hope this has been super valuable to you. I will see you on the next lesson. Know that no matter what, you can do this. Stay non-glamorous.